The next form we were asked to complete is the uterine evacuation form. Keep in mind that if our patient had been randomized to expectant management, we would have done the history form under expectant management and then the expectant management form. For methotrexate, if she had been randomized to methotrexate, we would do the history form here and then methotrexate dose 1. Since our patient was randomized to uterine evacuation, we did the history form under uterine evacuation, and now we're moving to the uterine evacuation form. Note that if we wanted to go back to see what we entered in history, we just click the history button here on the left. Keep in mind though that if you have any inputted information and you haven't saved it, if you toggle to another form, that information will be lost. You might notice that the location of visit doesn't make sense. That's because these sites are specific to Penn. In your individualized REDCap database, the locations will be specific for your site. If there's any change in the patient's condition, you're asked to note here, medication or treatment. Note that you're asked if an HCG value post-randomization was performed other than the pre-op value. If so, you would input it here. Let's imagine that this patient's only had the pre-op HCG. You're then asked to de-identify and upload the operative report to the file repository. We'll show you how to do that later. Keep in mind, again, that you don't want to click on File Repository without saving this record, because this information will be lost. If any additional labs are performed, you're asked which ones, and if they were abnormal, to comment. For simplicity, we'll say that no labs were performed, additional labs. If an ultrasound were performed, you're asked additional questions as well. The next question is what will be the next step? If it's a change in treatment, you're asked to complete the change in treatment form. You can see that up here, change in treatment if needed. Let's imagine that we're going to continue with the protocol. You're then asked to complete the uterine evacuation follow-up form. It also says to please note that the post-op HCG value must be performed 12 to 36 hours following the operation, and you're asked what the next scheduled visit is. If the patient's disposition needs further intervention like a hospitalization, you're asked to explain. Hit complete and save the record. Notice that if you hadn't completed it and you wanted to come back, you could always save it as incomplete.